Welcome back to our series on social media budgeting. We've just been through social media strategy and what that means, what's included and the rough pricing on that. Now we're going to go through social media influencers. Social media influencers is one of my personal favourites when it comes to controversial topics on social. They can be incredibly powerful. They can also be a colossal waste of money. You need to be very aware of how you engage the influencers and what you're going to get out of that engagement. Doing it well will net you an excellent result. We have a client that does it exceptionally well and the results for them far surpass the ROI that they would have expected. We have another example where a client is doing things with influencers in a very structured way, but the return just simply isn't there, so they've had to stop. Another thing to consider when it comes to influencers is the budget that goes towards an influencer or a number of influencers can be interchanged with your social media advertising budget. The reason for this is the activity is more or less intended to achieve the same outcome. By engaging an influencer versus engaging advertising, you want more spread, you want people to see more of your stuff, so you pay some money and you get an outcome. So when you're budgeting, you can actually afford to budget that together and then divide it out later on when it comes time to spend either one way or the other. Budget aside, there's 4 different types of strategy for engaging your influencers. Everyone wants to be a social media influencer. You will have seen the blog posts left, right and center, and then probably your mate down the road's picked up a camera and he's become an influencer too, right? Well, there's lots around. You need to know how you're going to engage them. So the 4 different strategy types are this: social promotion, product incentive, paid posts, and influencer retainers. So to begin with, social promotion. Social promotion is a little bit hit and miss, but it's arguably the most powerful of the 4 types. Social promotion doesn't involve any money, no money at all. It may potentially involve a little bit of a free product or a free service. As an example, you might be a cafe, you might give away a latte. That might be the extent of your financial investment when you're doing social promotion. But with social promotion, what you do is you pick influencers that are a little bit down the chain. In fact, these people might not even be influencers, or rather defining themselves as influencers. They might just be people in the local area who happen to have a big following because they post lots of stuff. They're not promoting themselves as influencers, but you can use them as such. Give you an example. Let's say you're a local cafe, you go on Instagram, you have a look around you to see people that are doing posts in the local area. You have a look at some of their profiles and you find a few that are getting high engagements with lots of posts and they have a reasonable number of followers. Rather than post anything on your own social profile, because that would tell everyone that you're doing this, directly message 2 or 3 of these people that have a decent following, but they're not positioning themselves as promoters. Directly message them, offer them a free cappuccino or a free latte or maybe even an espresso martini if they come into your bar or your cafe at a certain point in time and bring a friend. Don't offer anything else. You don't even ask them to do something for you. When you do that, 2 things occur. Firstly, you're likely to get some free promotion because when they come in, they're going to post a picture about it. But 2, you are floating that person's ego because they probably haven't been approached by too many people to do that kind of work. They're just happy that someone's given them free stuff. They're not thinking, gee, I could make $10,000 off this. They're just thinking, wow, I get a free cappuccino for me and a friend and I get treated like royalty. Social promotion done really well can be exceptionally cheap and it can net you some good results. By contrast though, it can be an incredible time waster because you need to work really hard at finding these people. Secondly, you might find you'll do a lot of them and may not get a particularly good return and you need to look at changing your strategies. Failing that, the product incentive. This is a much more common and perhaps old school way of doing it. Quite simply, you send your product out to a bunch of people that do identify as influencers and say, can you review it for us? Oh, and by the way, you can keep it too. Maybe you're selling shoes. Maybe it's a new cake that comes in a vacuum sealed container. Maybe you're selling a new form of hair care products. Send it out to people that you have identified as influencers in that market, and there are websites for that. Send it out, ask them to review it. They get to keep the product and you get some reviews. You also, in that process, tend to get some photos and imagery of people using the product, which you can use on your own social profiles as well. It is still fairly cheap. Your return is a bit more guaranteed than the social promotion. Your return is very limited. They won't go past what you have asked them to do. By the same token, it doesn't cost you all that much to do. Paid posts, probably the more common from an influencer point of view at the moment. Essentially what you do here is you pay an influencer some amount of money for one or more posts. Maybe it's $50 per post, maybe it's $500, maybe it's 10 grand if they're a big influencer. You will pay that person a set amount. It's no different to advertising on Channel 9 or some TV channel where you say, I want this ad slot for 30 seconds. You pay for that airtime. With a paid post, it's exactly the same. You want to make sure that you're getting value for money here, because it is very, very easy for an influencer to say, here is my rate, I charge you $500 per post, and here's my metrics. And you think, well, okay, is that good value or not? Shop around, because you'll find influencers will price themselves very high because they can. Now that because they can is starting to break down a little bit now, but make sure you're putting your money with an influencer who A, delivers, and B, has an engaged following that is actually valuable to you. There are some influencers that will use paid followers, which means they're using essentially robots as their followers, which means these people are not even real. So you're actually really wasting your money. The influencer retainer is a much more rare and uncommon option, but it is very, very powerful when it works. One of our clients has a very, very good influencer retainer. They've had that person on board now for 4 years, paying a very reasonable fee per year for a very excellent set of services that that person offers. The influencer retainer essentially means you agree to retain an influencer for X amount of money. Maybe it's a fee per month, maybe it's a fee per year. And this person agrees to do this set of things for you. Maybe it's plenty of posting, maybe it's commenting on your post, maybe it's resharing your posts, maybe it's sharing your post on other people's profiles. Whatever it is, that influencer must do that at a set routine or however you have that engaged in the contract. If they do not, you need some sort of exit clause, because if you've paid a bunch of money and they're not delivering, you need to be able to leave that contract pretty quickly. So the influencer retainer thing can work really, really well, but you need to make sure you find someone that you know and trust, and you find a deal with them that will work for you and for them as well. So before you go and embark on any influencer work, make sure you understand the 4 different strategies that are available. And then when you're talking to influencers or you're beginning to engage down one of these paths, you know what to expect and you know what you should be paying. Our next video series is on training and how to get social media training. As always, should you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email them directly to us or leave any questions in the comments field below. We'll endeavour to get back to you as soon as we possibly can with as much detail as we possibly can. As I said before, our next video is on social media training, and I look forward to seeing you there.